I just don't give a shit.
Good morning, everybody. I have another freaking atheist, Don, with me this morning, and we thought we'd do a little uh, coffee and look at some AIG news. So,
Hi,
uh,
everybody.
thought that might be interesting. Okay, let's do. What should we do first?
I'm just here for the fun. You picked the article.
All right.
I will say that Answers in Genesis and Ken Ham, I find that they put out so much stuff that is uh, demonstrably false that I believe they are a threat.
I do too.
And, yeah, and
I agree. There's
there,
the first article on the side chat we're gonna look at is the what would what makes us human and what would a monkey say if it had a mind to do so. So let's jump into the first article, why don't we?
let's do it.
Okay. All right. Hold on. I'll share it and I'll share it on screen so anybody that's watching might be able to see it. Oh, sorry about my sound effects, guys. When I'm doing stuff, I like to.
Well,
Uh,
while you're doing, I will just point out that uh, Unholy Mole. I'm just looking for it here. Just give me 1 second. Unholy Mole has an awesome lineup, and I will go over it while he's getting ready because he's got some awesome names uh, on that list.
and I'm so
And
very grateful for these people. I can't stress enough the love in this community. Is all I
yeah,
have to say.
so all these times that I'm going to say are Central Time. And tonight at 5 is Godless Engineer. Sunday, uh, oh, there's no time for the Sunday Frankie one, but
Oh, it's
Frankie from the
supposed
Geek.
to be at 6
Okay, 6. Okay.
Central.
Yes, it is there. Sorry. I was just reading it wrong. And then Monday is Chess Piercy at 4. That will be a fun one. And then on Tuesday, it's me, the wonderful, another freaking atheist. And then what do we got? Wednesday at 6, it's Luciano. And I interviewed Luciano a little while ago, and that guy has an amazing brain. I am definitely looking forward to that. If you don't know Luciano, please subscribe because he puts out some cool content. And then on Friday at 5, God is coming to visit the unholy mole. Do you think God will convert you? Oh, mole's muted. So God, the good one.
Oh
If you
no,
don't know God,
I don't think he'll convert me. I think that's why he's the good one because he's an atheist. Oh,
okay.
and Thursday at 6 p.m. I have Artemis Brain Sample, who is
Oh, right.
another
Yes.
very underrated YouTuber. He makes funny ass videos. He he's such a smart ass, but he's got a very sharp wit. If you haven't checked out Artie, please do so.
Yeah.
All right, so the first article we're going to look at is called hold on a second. It is called "What Would a Monkey Say If It Had a Mind To?" Well, first of all, my first thought on that is monkeys do have minds, and I do believe they do communicate more than Christians would like to think because um, that would make them more like us than they care to admit. I think. I think
Yeah.
that's the first problem with it.
And it says, what would a monkey say? It's assuming that communication is just verbal, but monkeys say a lot through other actions, whether it's their sounds, their body movements. I mean, they show compassion and love and anger. They have all these emotions that, uh, in my opinion, speak far louder than words.
Now this article, surprisingly, they do admit that monkeys do have the capability of, communicating with each other. But of course, here I'll just read it.
Yep.
So scientists are discovering surprising secrets of monkey chatter. Monkeys can and do say a lot more than scientists have previously given them credit for. That's the conclusion from 2 lines of research that have reassessed the sound generating capabilities of the monkey vocal tract and deciphered differing dialects of alarm calls in 2 monkey populations. But do these discoveries support evolutionary claims about the origin of human language? Can monkeys speak? Scientists.
Can we tackle this first, the
Sure,
abstract first?
we sure can.
Because it says that monkeys can and do say a lot more than scientists have previously given them credit for. That is pretty obvious that they don't understand how science works. If the research has not been put into it, then scientists are not going to say that, monkeys do something, right?
Exactly. And the conclusion from 2 lines of research, that's not a very big study group. And I think there's probably been way more than 2 lines of research. They just picked them 2 lines because they match up with what they want their narrative to say. What do you think about that?
Oh, cherry picking is a massive issue within Christian apologetics.
Yes.
So I would not we can't say for sure if this is what they're doing, but it wouldn't surprise me if this is cherry picking.
Right. Okay, so can monkeys speak? Scientists used to think that monkeys were quite limited in their ability to produce the sort of sounds we use in speech. Vowel sounds essential to spoken language appeared beyond the capabilities of the monkey vocal apparatus. This conclusion was supported in 1969 study by Philip Lieberman. I like how they always use studies that are 50, 40 years old. Lieberman dissected the vocal tract of a dead rhesus monkey and determined that in life the monkey would have been incapable of producing vowel sounds. Oops, I went a little too far there. What I wanna say about that real quick is, like I said, they're always picking old articles to choose from, and just because their vocal tract doesn't allow them to make speech like us, doesn't mean they don't communicate. They communicate with body language. I mean, actually, our communication is mostly body language. It's unspoken. It's unspoken. We pick up on other people's body language and their facial expressions and just stuff like that. So they're not.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think they're looking at that side of it. And like I said, just because they don't speak like us doesn't mean that they don't communicate with each other.
Yeah, and I want to point out too that this article is just over a year old, and at first, the first thing they say is that scientists have are discovering that monkeys can do more than they previously thought, and then right after that, they're citing a 59-year-old research.
Right.
I mean, 59 years ago, they knew this stuff. The research may not have been solid enough for them to actually say for sure, but I mean, they were researching this 60 years ago, and you know, it just drives me nuts that it's this new thing that scientists didn't know about, but then cite something from 60 years ago.
Right. And I would say it's safe to say if they looked into modern studies, they would find a lot more out about it. But like I said, that wouldn't fit their narrative. So, of course, they're not going to show that. And
Yeah. Did you see
what's that?
You see the side chat?
No, since I'm on the article, I don't want, and since I'm screen sharing at the moment, I don't want to switch it over. But what is what's
Well,
side chat say?
It was just Nacho wondering if he could join or if it's just the two of us.
Oh, sure. If you want to, Nacho, you're more than welcome to. Let me send you a link, Chief.
I can do that.
Okay.
That you don't want to.
Okay, go ahead. Send him a link.
All right. Nacho's awesome.
He is awesome. He's one of my 3 favorite Aussies.
Yeah. 3. There's Grumpy Dave, Nacho, and who's the third?
Well, Bering and Sugar Tits.
Oh, Baron.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, but Sugar Tits' voice is just, it makes me melt, dude.
Yeah.
And
what
she's
about Grade A?
Also, there's more, but I'm just saying my top 3, the people I really,
Yeah.
I mean, I talked to Grumpy Old Dave and I talked to Notches, so they're obviously my top 3. And I'm in love with Sugar Tits' voice. So, Bering, you better watch out.
Yeah.
No, I'm just joking. I would never do that, but her voice is wonderful. Okay, just as a fossil's inability to walk limits our ability to fully understand dinosaur locomotion, so dead monkeys tell no tales. Therefore, a team led by Princeton neuroscientist Asif Gazanfar, I hope I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, who worked with Lieberman in the past, of course, it's back in the 60s, has obtained fresh information about a monkey's potential vocal repertoire through X-ray video of a living monkey's voice box. What you'll find in the textbooks is the monkeys can't talk because they don't have the appropriate vocal tract to do so, explains Tecumseh Fitch, lead author of study, that I think is a myth. My colleagues and I get very tired of seeing this, but you'll see in the textbooks lots of popular books and also scholarly books about the evolution of language assume that in order to evolve speech, we had to have a massive change in our vocal tract. Obviously, we did have to have a massive change in our vocal tract, or we wouldn't be speaking today. Like I get a kick out of how they say, well, if you evolved from monkeys, then why are there still monkeys? Well, Christians, if you evolved from Jews, then why are there still Jews? Checkmate, Christians.
Yeah. Hey, Nacho.
Hi, Nacho. Good morning, or actually, good evening to you. Actually,
no, it is evening. It is good. It is actually good morning for me.
Oh,
it is now Saturday morning.
Is it just after midnight?
Yeah, it's 12:30.
Oh well. Once again, hello, future man.
Yeah, I'm always in the future, aren't I?
How's the underworld?
It's pretty good.
You're strapped down good so you won't fall off?
Yeah, no, at the moment my Velcro isn't working, so I had to use my safety strap on.
Oh, shit, I hate when that happens.
Strap on. So what do you think, Nacho, about the monkey's voice box?
Well, my first thought was when it comes to vocalizing and articulating words, there are many other species of animal which can do that.
Yeah.
However, it isn't the vocalization of the language that is the problem. It is the complete comprehension of it.
Right.
and the ability to learn in the extent that we do.
Right, and I don't know if you were here for when I said that communication isn't just speech. I mean, a lot of our communication is subconscious.
Yes.
It's body language and it's facial expressions.
Actually, at that point, yeah, no, absolutely. I caught that. I was in the chat still, and I was like, a lot of animals use so many other different types of communication than what we do. We are mainly a verbal communicating species in general, but as you say, you're not wrong. We do use so many different types. There is, you know, I mean, like the physical communications that we use aside from verbal communications is very vast.
I mean, we learned that first. I mean, think about when we're babies. We can tell, you know,
Absolutely.
by our parents, you know, facial expressions and their body language, you know, whether we're, you know, I mean, we pick up on
emotion
all the time.
And I want to point out, too, that when we split off from monkeys in our heritage, we developed the voice box. That evolved and made it so we could speak. It does not mean the monkeys will do it. The monkeys do not have the same social and environmental pressures that humans have. So they're going to develop in their own way. And maybe sign language will be their thing or something.
Because the monkeys aren't what we developed from. But at the same time, the 2 points I just wanted to say, the monkeys aren't what we developed from. Obviously, we all know that, and you didn't actually mean that. But the communication thing, it's like we evolved from our ancestors, which didn't have as adequate form of vocal cords and the rest to articulate the vocals that we do. However, that isn't to say it is a unique thing amongst, like, it isn't a thing to say that makes us human.
Yeah, I don't have...
That is an argument that is put across a lot. I'm not saying that is either of your arguments, of course.
Right. No, I'd like to state that I don't have scientific proof of it, but I do believe that I don't think we're the only animals capable of abstract thought. I really don't believe that. I believe that there are a few other animals that are capable of abstract thought. Just because we can't understand it doesn't mean that they're not doing it. Like crows being able to use tools, dolphins being able to, you know, communicate to each other and learn. You know.
Yeah.
You know.
I was just gonna ask what your definition of the abstract thought is.
My definition would be abstract thought would be the ability to think outside of right now and formulate a plan to do something.
Something which is outside of the temporal and the perspective.
Yes, and the ability, like I said, the ability to formulate a plan without it being obvious to you. You know, like not just, oh, I'm going to bend over and pick up a rock because here's a rock, but I need to get a stick to dig that rock out so I can pick that rock out. That kind of thing, you know. The ability to use tools.
Okay. So what would you consider when you think about, and I'm not arguing, I'm actually just my first thoughts, that's all it is. Because I thought of a rat, and if you confine a rat under a metal bucket or something that is hard enough that it can't burrow through, it will burrow through the ground.
Right.
Now, evolution says that, you know, it'll go for the easiest access point and it'll just start digging.
Right.
But is that not a abstract thought? Is that not thinking
outside the box, you know, so to speak? I mean, no pun intended, but
literally, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would consider that almost abstract thought, because that's problem solving. Isn't that exactly what abstract thought is?
That's exactly what I was thinking. And there are so many cases where we actually learn from the animals around us, or the species around us.
I think Christians don't like to admit that animals are, or not animals, but that we are animals just as they are animals. I mean, I think that, like, if they admitted that animals have the ability for abstract thought and the ability to problem solve,
it definitely offends their sensibilities.
Yeah, then that doesn't make humans so special anymore, does it?
Absolutely.
Well, I just pulled up like the definition. It's abstract thinking is a level of thinking about things that is removed from the facts of the here and now and from specific examples of things or concepts being thought about.
That's pretty close to what we were on to, wasn't it? Like,
yeah, pretty much.
I mean,
but the first thing that I thought of was, well, squirrels will store nuts for the winter. That is not the here and now. That is
that's
future
the future,
planning.
yeah. And they can say that's instinct all they want, but I think it's a learned ability from past generations.
The article I just read was actually talking about how it seems, at least, even beyond both of those, where it becomes very OCD and pedantic.
Right.
Because squirrels are exceptionally clean animals about their habitat. And so wherever their sanctuary is, when they decide to hibernate, that's when they store up all of their nuts and stuff, and do their dirty work to try and but basically they are completely OCD. It's kind of baffling a lot of the scientists that study them at the moment, which is really interesting.
Yeah, and the one thing we talked about before you come on is how the article started with scientists didn't know before. That's basically what they were trying to say.
Okay.
And it's not so much that they didn't know, it's just the research into it hasn't been done yet.
Right.
It's like this. I must admit, the article I refer to was it's newly found science. So like these are the things they've just found and they've just sort of discovered. So there is, of course, it's not that exactly. I'm with you.
Yeah. Yeah, because science keeps learning new things, and science. I think what I'm trying to say is, it's not that scientists were saying, "Oh, they don't do this." They were just not having a position until they did the research. They're not going to say monkeys can't communicate without doing research to find out that whether they can or can't.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And there's other things that like animals do. Like I think there's a group of macaques in Japan that one troop of them started to wash their food, and it was taught to other generations, and they're the only troop of macaques that do that in the whole of Japan. No other ones do it. So that's obviously the ability to abstract think. They're doing something that's out of the norm. Monkeys don't normally walk. I mean, if they're as dumb as people want to say they are, wouldn't they just grab a fucking dirty apple off a tree and eat it just how it is?
Now, I heard two conflicting things. There was one that was a naturistic point of view, which was that they figured that out due to a certain disease that was going around within the macaques at the time. The other theory being that it was due that they were actually learning that behavior from humans who they would observe within the city streets of Japan.
Uh-huh.
Are either of you aware of either of those? Or
I never heard the disease ones. But still, even if it was, I mean, were they washing the fruit to try to battle the disease?
Yeah, like that was their attempt to try and clean it.
Well, I mean, if that's not abstract thought, I don't know what the fuck is. You know, I mean, tell me what other animal thinks about like that can make the connection that dirt can hurt me, or something in it. I mean, they obviously don't. I'm sure they're not as deep as, oh, it's bacteria causing this disease, but they made the connection that, oh, well, everybody in the troop that eats this dirty fruit is getting sick. Let's wash it off, and that, like, obviously, I mean, that's quite amazing problem solving skill. And even if they did learn it from humans, that shows they have the ability to learn. Well,
yeah. That's it, because that either version you hear, it kind of is a learning, strategy. Like it's adapting something that is rather out of the ordinary. But at the same time, it could also be argued that they might have had certain amount of time experiencing that negativity within their own community and witnessing at the same time the benefits of what others do around them. And so it could
be, that's just evolution.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And look at otters laying on their backs and using rocks to crack open shellfish. That isn't, I mean, that you would call that an animal behavior? I would call that problem solving. That's using a tool.
Yeah. And let's bring it closer to home. I moved last year, and my dog came with me. There was certain behaviors he did at the house, and when we came here, some of those behaviors he couldn't do. Some of them he had to change. Some he still does.
Yeah, he adapted.
He adapted. The way he tells me that he needs outside is a little different now.
Mm-hmm.
The way he tells me that he needs food, because I'm in a smaller place, his dish is literally 5 feet away from me.
Right.
And because it used to be in a separate room from where I would be.
Right.
And
that's a fucking good
before
example.
He would come and he would sneeze at me and then go in a circle.
Right.
And that would tell me he needed food. And now he just sneezes and paws his dish. And that tells me if he needs food or water.
Right.
It points out the difference between what is an evolutionary trait, which is clearly between generational thing, and what is a learned trait within the single generation, like within a single individual.
Right.
And how they adapt. And it is two different things. And it is conflated too often.
Right. You're
argue
correct.
The 2 points.
But Chico could also, if Chico had a companion, let's say he had another companion, he could teach that companion, hey, if you're hungry, let's sneeze and then paw up the dish, and Don will feed us. I mean,
but that's still a learned trait. That's not an evolutionary trait. That's not something passed down through the generations, which is what because from a biblical point of view, that is what they will argue, and that is where they will conflate a lot of these points. And that is what you said. That was where it came, where you guys came into this, where they conflate these issues, where they will basically argue that the difference between humans and animals is so vast, where it isn't actually that vast when you come down to it. They will go to the extremes, where obviously there is a lot of adaptation, but it doesn't negate the evolution that also happens.
Right. And anybody that says, anybody that's ever been a pet owner knows that a dog, I mean, have you ever seen a dog smile?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They don't do that around other dogs. They don't use that trait around other dogs. So that's something I think that they evolved. I mean, along with humans, they evolved into knowing that hey, if we make certain facial gestures around humans, or you know, they'll do things for us. Now, is that not, wouldn't that not be an evolutionary trait? I mean, this is over thousands of years we're talking about, something they've learned.
It is
And
a
all
it
dogs
is
do it.
definitely, because that is part of domestication.
Right.
But well, that is assumed because it is hard to get a wolf into that position to try and get them to smile at a human to test that.
Right. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be the guy standing in the room with the wolf. That's
But,
for sure.
Yeah, like
Well, I will point out that there's a few places where wolves are kept, and like these are actual wolves, and they are super friendly to the people there, and yeah, they do smile.
green.
There's a place I saw a documentary on it where this woman has a place out in the country, and there's wolves, and the wolves will actually come to her, and they just act like pet dogs. She'll like lay down on the ground, and they'll come and play with her and lay with her and stuff. It's truly amazing.
Right. It is. I mean, animals are. I mean, animals are amazing. Look at crows, for instance. Like if I were to go and throw a rock at one crow, that crow would recognize my face and warn other birds and future generations, "Hey, this guy's an asshole. Stay away from him." You know, I mean, they've done studies on. I can't remember if it was Princeton or Yale. It was. I know it was one of the northeastern schools, but I can't remember which one exactly where they did this study. And I mean, I would say that that's the ability to learn. That's not instinctual. That is learning something and then passing it on to future generations.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you agree?
Well, my buddy has a friend crow. He calls
Oh
Russell.
yeah, you told me about that.
And this crow will spend time with my buddy, and we'll go grab mussels and bring them over so my buddy can crack them open for him. He'll tap on his drink when he wants some of the drink, stuff like that. It's amazing.
Yeah, and that's and a Christian would say, "Oh, that's just mimicry," you know, or you know, that like it goes further on in this article. I'll read a little bit more, and what you'll find in textbooks is that monkeys can't talk because they don't have the appropriate vocal tracts. It explains to Kumsa Fitch. I think I might have read that paragraph already. Okay, Games of Forest team has learned that monkeys, should they have a mind to, can produce a wider range of vocal sounds that Lieberman's post-mortem study suggests. The scientists had the assistance of 3 long-tailed macaques. Once again, way too small of a group to make any kind of scientific, decision.
Well, that's it. And I just want to clarify that it's not a small species, that it's a smaller group. It is that it is so, like, if you look at the tree of our life, basically, of species, and if you look at where our lineage comes from, in that common ancestor between us and the long-tailed macaque, it is so fucking far beyond second cousins.
Right.
There is no real similarity, and there is no comparison. That is definitely the point.
And them saying, well, they could talk if they had a mind to. Who's to say they don't talk and we just don't understand what they're saying? I'm sure they speak to each other, in their own language.
Yes, and that was where language is misunderstood a lot as a verbal communication, because it isn't.
Yes.
as you pointed out as well. Yes, exactly.
Right. There's more to language than just verbalization. There's there's
Yeah.
body language. There's facial. There's there's a lot of nonverbal cues.
Yeah, and the thing too, like we can communicate with words, but there's nothing to say that the way we communicate might not be the best way.
Yeah.
There could be much better ways.
Take well songs for instance. They're all different, yet a well from its own pod can recognize another well from its pod song. I
Because
mean,
basically,
is that not speech?
well, it is, and literally, I suppose all that actually happened was through evolution. We adapted that ability in our vocal cords and our brains in whatever time frame to be able to communicate easily through that means, and we not lost, but we lessened our abilities to communicate in the means that we did previously, which is
Right.
the way that animals do.
Yeah.
In whatever, you know.
Our evolution of speech was needed because look at us, we're weak, we're soft. The only advantage we have is speech and being able to plan. I mean, who's to say animals aren't planning just in a different way? Is what what I'm getting at. I think that
Absolutely.
human speech was an evolutionary trait that was needed because I mean we're not exactly, if we didn't have the ability to speak and formalize plans, then we would die. I mean we're not exactly what you'd call top of the food chain in that respect.
Yeah, and Straight Seth Mail in chats points out Coco the gorilla
Yeah.
learned to use sign language.
Yeah, and she actually didn't just mimic, like when they took her baby away. She had a dolly, I believe, or maybe it was a kitten, and when they took it away, she kept signing, Coco sad, wants baby. If that's not her, if that's not the ability, that's not mimicking anything. They weren't saying that to her. She obviously understood what them signs meant, and she was signing, "Hey, I'm sad you took my kitty away." I mean, so what's that tell you right there? They have the ability to think and reason and speak if they're taught to do so, in a different way.
Yeah, communication is so much more than just
Words,
verbal language. Yeah.
But even within the humans, we know that to be true.
Right.
I mean, it seems such a petty argument when you put it into just verbal communication.
Yeah. But could they make any of this argument without reducing it to just verbal words?
Right.
If they took communication as a whole, like it should be, this whole argument would fall apart, would it not?
Right. It goes on further in the article, and the reason lies in the way the monkey brain and vocal tract are wired. A monkey lacks language critical connections between its auditory cortex and its motor cortex. That's just saying that they don't speak like we do. But once again, we do know that they have the ability to communicate with us if we give them a means to do so. I mean, like Coco, like go back to Coco the gorilla, go back to a dog. I mean, like, doing a little silly dance and pawing at his dish. That might not seem like communication to you or to them, but that's most obviously communication. They're telling you something until they get what they want. What else do you call communication? Isn't that what communication is all about? Getting what your idea in your head is about across to somebody else?
Pretty much.
I mean, that might not be a very scientific way of putting it, but I mean, that's it in a nutshell, is it not?
Yeah. Yeah, because you just want to send out a message to someone else and have them receive it.
Right. So I mean, like they're if they I think that, I mean, I wonder what kind of cognitive dissonance they have, because I mean, obviously they can see it as well, but they don't want to word it in that way. You know what I mean?
Can I just throw out a comment?
Sure, anytime.
Pitched in by Maynard Ford. I don't know how to pronounce that properly if I fucked it, but they said that is incorrect. I'm not sure what they refer to, but they say they have limited neuronal connection via the acute. Wait up, it just moved. Arcuate nucleus, which connects Broca's and Wernicke's areas. You might have to look at the actual side chat to read.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. What do you mean is incorrect, Maynard?
I think he's referring to what the article is saying here about why monkeys don't or can't use vocal
language
like we do.
All right. Okay. Yeah, well, you may be right. You may absolutely be right. But I mean, do you agree with us that they are communicating in other ways?
Oh, yeah, sure they would.
Yeah, and just so that we're clear on what communication means, I pulled up the definition, and it's imparting or exchanging of information or news.
Right.
So it's basically what we've been saying. It's just
okay. Yeah, that's. Yeah. I agree. I agree with that, Maynard. Maynard. I'll just call you M Ford. How's that? Because Maynard is hard to pronounce.
Primates have limited connection between the area of the brain that processes sound and coordinates speech.
Oh, cool.
So, and that would be a difference between us, I'm guessing, between us and primates, or is that us as well, given we are primates? I'm not trying to be difficult.
By the way, welcome to my channel, M Ford. You're welcome here anytime, buddy. I love the people in our community. I think we're a pretty good bunch of people. You know, I'd have to say.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that, you know, there can, like I said, I mean, that whole article boils down to they're saying, well, since monkeys can't speak, obviously they're you know, they can't communicate, which is totally false. Did you see that the little side notes on that article? Hold on, I'll share it with you again, and I'll share it with you again. I'll show you. Okay.
Can produce all the necessary sounds needed to imitate human speech.
Yeah.
Monkeys do not have the neurological wiring needed to imitate human speech.
That's what M Ford was. That's what M Ford was saying. But look at the next one. God gave monkeys the ability to adapt their instinctive alarm calls to fit the challenge imposed by their environments. God gave monkeys the ability. I would call that they evolved the ability. Wouldn't you?
Oh yeah.
Wait. Oh my God. We're in Answers in Genesis. Oh wow. I just realized this is the first time I've been in the Answers in Genesis. Thank you.
Oh yeah, they have all kinds of crazy articles.
I've just never gotten around to it. So.
Oh, I like this one. God created language and the uniquely human ability to use it. No, evolution created language because we needed to survive. I'm sure that our first speech was just as animalistic as, you know, animals are now, grunts and squeals and you know, verbal. I mean, why else do you think verbal and or nonverbal communication is still such a large part of our lives?
Yeah.
I mean, at one point that was our main means of communication. I believe.
No,
Yeah.
I
And
just
then-
have to point this. No,
Okay.
go ahead, Dom.
No, you
No,
go
go
ahead, Nacho. Well, I just wanted to
Okay, I'll
tackle.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm shutting up, Nacho.
Okay, I'll be quick. On your screen, Molly, I just can't get over how minimal their information is. There is no sourcing. There is no like detail. They are using the most basic of words to describe the most simplest points.
Yeah,
there
they
is
always
no
do.
actual meat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they always do. All right, let's see
Well,
what other.
Donnie had a
point
point.
out this though. Evolutionists now believe the evolution of speech required not changes in vocal anatomy, but rewiring of our ancestral brain. Now,
Hmm.
as far as I know, the whole vocalizing speech and everything that is still being very researched, and it's there's no definite answers yet. So what we believe and what we don't believe, it isn't factual. I mean, of course, there are some facts within the research so far, but you know, the whole vocal anatomy and speech evolution and everything, as a whole, it's not completely understood. So we don't have facts to say this is exactly how it was done.
Right. Here's a good article. Let's take a look at this one. Check this out. This is kind of funny. What it is it's an article about well, hold on, I'll show you. Hold on, I gotta get to the right page. There we go. All right. All right, and this article is Humans' Poor Sense of Smell is an Evolutionary Myth by Dr. Elizabeth Mitchell. I'm going to have to look at her credentials. I'll bet you anything she's a creation scientist.
Can you put the link in the side chat, please?
Sure can, buddy. Hold on just a second.
All right.
Mm.
And how's your smell, Nacha? When it comes to smell, my ex and I were totally different. I don't smell things all that much.
Women smell differently than men do too.
Yeah,
I believe.
Yeah, my ex, I could fart a block away and she'd smell it.
All right, I put that in the side chat for you guys if you want to look at it with me. All right, well, humans' poor sense of smell is an evolutionary myth. Yes, sir.
Just a quick question. I just realized, like, when I went and grabbed a drink, I'm like, I mentioned alcohol a bit. That's not a problem, is it?
Oh no, not at all. If you were shooting heroin and telling me about it, that might be a problem. But alcohol, I haven't drank in years, and
I'd expect if I was shooting heroin and telling you about it, I'd hope you'd smack my bitch up.
Oh, I would find a way to fly to Australia.
No, I just wanted to make sure because I know a few folk that are uncomfortable with that sort of thing.
I don't have any problem with people doing anything around me. To be honest with you, it's my problem that I'm an addict. It's nobody else's problem. Why should they change their life for me? You know, I'm the one that has to you know what I mean? I'm the one that has to deal with it. I'm the one that can't use responsibly, so I got my card taken away, so I can no longer do it safely, you know?
No, but okay, I just wanted to ensure that. Like, I had to get that out real quick.
You're perfectly fine, buddy. You're perfectly fine. As a matter of fact, as long as I envy you guys. Anybody that can use alcohol and drugs in moderation, you have every right to use them. I'm the one that ruined my right because I don't know how to moderate, and it's not good for my my life.
We all live and learn, and there might be a time one day, but as long as it's not your time, that's cool. I just wanted to get that out clear.
I'm quite happy with smoking a little herb. I've never hurt anybody, robbed anybody, stole, cheated, or for pot. I mean, the other drugs, I wish I could say the same, but I'd be lying to you if I told you I did.
Oh, good. Okay, back to the article.
Okay.
I'd like to address something Beige says, because she said, how do women smell differently? I question that statement.
Sensitive.
You could probably find the scientific article, but it's about women's sense of smell evolved to just be a little more heightened than men. Since they were the gatherers, they had to be able to smell what was safe to eat, what wasn't safe. So I mean, it's not like way different. It's just a little more heightened than ours because that wasn't as important evolutionary trait for men as it was for women. That's all.
And I'll also point out that there is research to show that women smell better than men as well.
And they smell prettier too, if you want.
Yeah, they have a better scent than men.
And they can smell better.
but I think that's a bit subjective.
Right. No, but I mean, as a rule, though, women's noses are a little bit more sensitive to smell than men's is. And that's a scientific study. I'm not just pulling that out of my ass. You can probably find it if you look for it. And it is peer reviewed. It's not just some nonsense, hypotheses. It's actually peer reviewed study.
Scholar.google.com. Don't use BuzzFeed or Reddit to get your information.
Right. Try to use a scientific website if you can.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Abstract. Evolution did not build your big brain at the expense of your sniffer. We've all heard that compared to mammalian animals like dogs, humans have a poor sense of smell. Are we not mammalian animals, first off? Okay.
We're animals, yes.
Yeah,
that we definitely are.
Okay. Did you know that this notion is a 19th century myth, and this is commonly accepted myth is based on evolutionary idea rather than scientific evidence? I call bullshit. Are they saying that we can smell as well as dogs can?
They're trying to compare the sense of smell with as humans do, as with the dogs, yes.
Okay.
But they're not, I'm guessing anyway, going to go into the details of the evolution of the differences between the species and how our noses evolve very differently.
Not only they're not going to go into the evolutionary part of it, but they're probably not going to go into the biology of it either.
It looks like they do just a little bit.
They'll just do it enough to swing their viewers their way, but not enough to actually give them any facts.
Okay, poor human olfaction is a 19th century myth. Rutgers University neuroscientist John McCann's review, published in Science, traces the origin and consequence of this belief and reviews evidence to the contrary. How good a sniffer you are, it turns out, depends on what you're trying to sniff or trying to sniff out, and how you measure olfactory quality and ability. And if you look over to the right, I don't know if you guys can see it, but it says news source, Tech Times. The first one is human sense of smell is better than previously thought. How did our sense of smell evolve? And the one below that is human sense of smell is just as good as dog study. I don't buy that. I don't know what your I don't know. They have a lot of creation science. Just because you're a scientist doesn't necessarily mean you're right. I mean, you have to come up with a hypothesis, have it peer reviewed, have that studied, and replicated time after time after time before you can state that as fact.
Just most important point, peer reviewed, because to be peer reviewed means almost all of everything else you just said, generally speaking.
Right. Okay,
it's just like like I got a point that like so many, not even just in conspiracy theories, in news, in people that you expect better of, they will find a study and run with it without actually looking into it, without even looking into the articles it references at the bottom, if it sources articles. And they will run with it, and it's full of shit, and it's so easy to find the actual evidence that fucking debunks it. And they
you know, I think the reason why is because the people that come and read these articles, as a rule, besides people like us that debunk them, are people that want to believe, and they want just enough scientific wording in there to make it seem legit.
They do
to them.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Because it's
most of these people are all presuppositionalists anyway. They already come in with an idea already in their mind of how things work. You know what I mean? So that's a very unfair example. You know,
but it's true. Like, because it's very similar. Like a conspiracy theorist's mindset is very similar to a religious person's, and I was at just the start of this year.
Right.
I still had that religious mindset. Like, it's very fresh. And I know how easy it is to be completely adequate in all the sciences while still holding to your beliefs, being ignorant specifically to certain things and twisting it in the way you want. And conspiracy theorists do the same thing.
Yeah, yes, they do. And it's willful ignorance, is it not?
Well,
it's cognitive bias.
But for people who are like me, who were smart, who really knew this, yes, it was. But for people who just aren't science whizzes, no, it isn't. You know,
I think you're right though about the comparison between religion and conspiracy theorists. I think it's a way for them to feel special and different to the rest of the society. They want to feel, you know, like they know something we don't know. You know, the joke's on you.
And it's the same with religion, yes. But it's not so much it's a more haughty, you know, I'm better than you, but I can save you kind of attitude.
Right.
You know, like I know that little secret. I'm in God's ear. And that's that little secret that everyone else doesn't know, you know.
I do have a small question for you about religion, Nacha. I know you can only speak for yourself, but why do theists have such glee about watching? I mean, they say they want to save our souls, but in reality, how many of them are be like, I'm gonna laugh when you're burning in hell, you know? I mean, how do they find so much glee in the suffering and the thought of us suffering for eternity?
This is a slightly loaded question. I was not one of those.
I'm not saying you were. I'm just saying, did you
I'm
see
not.
that?
No, I know. I did. But I only saw it as a majority thing when I came out of not even the religion of the faith. Which was very weird. Because I know for a fact that there is a lot, if not a majority, a lot of religious people, especially at least within those that I knew, that were just completely good people who were just dumb, like me. Smart in every other way, just in this one particular area, they weren't. They were a bit dumb, and they just went along with it, and they had no hate or this, you know. But there are, you know, it's okay basically. So they're the ones that will look on to, you know, like they will do their preaching work and they will be literally doing their life, sacrificing their life to this preaching work just to try and save every single person they can, and their heart is in it. And
Right.
it's, even if they're not wholehearted into the God themselves, they might have their own foibles, you know, like, I don't know, whatever little sins they do that are against the religion kind of thing. Like, you know, that, but that's not where their heart is. And I know that a lot of other religious people from a lot of other religions are like that. You know, and generally speaking, that'd be your Sunday churchgoers. Those people that are like, look, I'm there because I'm trying to do the right thing, but I got to get on with my life, you know.
Right.
But
right.
with the JWs, they get more serious, and with a lot of other fundamental religions like that, they get much more serious, and their doctrines can take over a lot of the mindsets of people, and they become less adept at being able to differentiate between what is important within the doctrines, or what is pushed as important within the doctrines, and what is not. And so, like, within the JWs is the only thing I can really speak of. There are a lot of people who do turn into that, looking forward to the end of the world for the death of people, as opposed to for the hope of people. It all sounds miserable because everybody, you know, like, lots of people die, and everyone thinks that's terrible. But to
Yeah. Now,
the
is
good,
it?
yeah,
It's JWs that believe only 144,000 people are going to heaven, right?
to heaven from earth, yes.
Okay. Now, where do
That's
the rest of the believers go?
the JWs believe that the earth was originally built for God's purpose as it was originally built, which was for a paradise earth for man to, you know, enjoy and multiply and all that sort of good stuff, you know, in perfection and stuff. And so their version of heaven to what everyone else thinks is heaven is at the end. And, you know, like, it's a very different scheme of thing. Like, they have what normally, like, okay, like, a lot of Christians will believe that when you die, you go to heaven, and that's the way it just continues to go until Jesus comes back and he fixes some things. Whereas the JWs believe Jesus has already come back. He started the fixing of things, and people are already starting to die and go to heaven for the 144,000. And the Great Tribulation is coming. Like, that's why the end is near and all that sort of stuff. And yeah.
I didn't know. Isn't there a connection between Seventh-day Adventists and Jehovah's Witnesses? Aren't they kind of a splinter group of each other from the Millerite movement?
That is correct.
Okay.
They're not a direct splinter group, but they are derived from the same lineage, I suppose. It's like, because, how do you put it? It's not like there was one, you know, like the Millerites were a religion and then suddenly there was a splinter group called the JWs. You know, like, they derived things from that movement that became what was known as the Bible students, or the Bible study group. Can't quite remember. And that was like the late 1800s. And then in 1920s, 30s, somewhere there, or probably earlier, fucked if I know, but early 1900s, they had a big split as the Bible students, or whatever. They became both the Bible students and the Jehovah's Witnesses, and then split off from there. But there are lineages from the Millerites, just the same as like the Mormons, and yeah.
Right. Well, since we're talking about AIG, I mean, originally, I know Kent Hovind and Ken Ham have very similar worldviews. I mean, they're both young Earth creationists. They're both, they both think dinosaurs walked the earth with men. They pretty much have the same worldview. I'm not sure. Are they both Baptists?
I'm probably the wrong person to ask on that question.
What do you think, Don? Do you think they're both Baptists?
Who?
Kent Hovind and Kenny Ham.
Probably look that up though.
Yeah, that would have to be looked up. I know they have similar thoughts to the Baptists, so it's possible, but
yeah, well, anyway, what I was getting at was, I find Kent Hovind's more of a buffoon. I'm not saying his ideas aren't just as bad as Ken Ham's, but Ken Ham has the means and the opportunity to spread his deceitful, non-science bullshit to the world, and I think he's dangerous. He's very dangerous.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
I as I said, like, I'm pretty new, and I knew who Ken Ham was before all of this, but not only by the arc and all the ridiculousness of it. So I suppose if you're talking influence and the reach, I would say Ken Ham is worse because
and money wise too. I just think he's much more dangerous.
If he has more reach, you'd assume he has the bigger funds. So,
right.
Yeah.
I just checked. Kent Hovind is a Baptist, and Ken Ham is a Baptist.
I thought so. I thought they were both Baptists.
Yeah.
I think most young Earth creationists are either Pentecostals or Baptists. I think are the two main ones that believe in young Earth creation. I'm sure there are others. If anybody in chat knows, if you want to let me know, or if you put it in there, are there any other religious sects that are besides Baptists and Pentecostals that are young Earth creationists?
Yeah. I was a United Baptist for half my life.
See, I don't have that. Like, I mean, I guess that I come from a very small percentage of people that were pretty much an atheist since birth. I mean, like, religion was never pushed on me. The closest I ever came was my mom thought it would be a good idea for me to learn a little bit about Catholicism in my early teens. And I went to like catechism class once a week for a month. So I wouldn't really call that a religious upbringing. That was more or less just them getting rid of me 4 days, or one day a week, so they could do whatever they were doing. Oh, I can't believe you don't have a wrench, Josiah. I'm so sorry, man. I really like you. I mean, you're in all of the chats and everybody we hang out with.
So
you're a good being, Mr. Hanson. Methodists also are young Earth creationists.
Say again.
I said Max said Methodists ? Are they also young Earth creationists? Oh, of course. I love Apology of Ham and Eggs. I'm hoping to have him. He did agree to interview. It's just a matter of finding time to get him on. So I'm looking forward to that. I love how. Yeah,
I was just gonna say, I don't know if you caught it the other night, the stream we were in. Somebody was asking for a wrench or whatever, and I was like, hey, Molly, give him a wrench that night.
Yeah.
And not long after that, they were stoked that they got a wrench, and I'm like, yeah, Molly's like our Oprah. Everybody gets a wrench.
No, that isn't true. Not everybody. You have to be in our camp to get a wrench. And
what about Spooky? Because
first
Spooky
two
hasn't got a wrench.
Oh, I just gave him one.
You did?
The first,
because Spooky's awesome.
The first 200 subs are going to get a wrench unless you come here and to be a troll, then you're not getting a wrench.
Yeah, no, they don't count. They just don't count. Come on. Come on.
And I like to give wrenches to all the people because I want it to be fair, and some people abuse their wrench powers. So if everybody has a wrench, then they can't abuse the power. This is my channel. It's a molocracy.
Molocracy, I like that.
Now,
welcome to my molocracy.
Okay, in the molocracy, can I say that Methodists teach that evolution is sound science and should be taught in schools?
Do what now?
Okay.
Can you repeat that? I was reading Secular's comment.
Yeah,
atheists are dumb. I know he's just fucking around.
Methodists teach that evolution is sound scientific doctrine.
Yeah.
And should be taught in schools.
Yeah. Do I have a problem with that? Is that what you're asking?
No, because that was a topic that was questioned before we were I think it was Mac that was asking were Methodists early young Earth creationists or not, and so that was the answer.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I've done some research, peoples.
Right. And there. Who are the older? Who are the Catholics? Catholics believe in divine evolution, right? They're one of them that believe in evolution. What? And you said Methodists do too, Don?
Methodists believe in evolution.
Okay. And Catholics do as well. They accept evolution.
Yeah.
Roman Catholics do anyway. I don't know about Greek Orthodox. I'm not sure about them. I don't really know about. I don't really know a lot about the Eastern Orthodoxy Church. So, I mean, I don't know. I think Ken Ham needs to be destroyed at all costs. Any religion that is dangerous to society as a whole, I think needs to be taken down. Ken Ham is right up there. Steve Anderson, he is one of the biggest bigots I've ever seen. If there's a more closeted homosexual, I don't know them. That guy is so obsessed with homosexuality that there is no other explanation than he wants to suck a cock. I mean, I don't have nothing against gay people, but not at all. I mean, I have many gay friends. We all know this. But Steven Anderson is most certainly gay and overcompensating for something.
Oh, man, I came into that at the wrong time.
Do you know who Steven Anderson is?
No, but everything from Steven Anderson is, from then on, I've already forgotten, but from then on is all I heard, and I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah. check out Steve Anderson. He has a channel. It's called Steve Anderson 1611, I believe. And he just he rants and rails about most of his sermons are putting down other people, other churches, atheists, homosexuals, pretty much anybody that doesn't agree with hard teaching Baptists.
Yeah.
I know. I've seen the type. They're not fun.
Yeah, but he is fun. Huge bigot. He's an asshole. I wouldn't cry even a little bit if that guy were to get hit by a train. and I'm a very sensitive and pacifistic kind of person. I don't like to hurt people. I don't like to hurt animals. I don't hunt. I mean, I am a meat eater, but I mean, I recognize that is a necessary evil. You know, It is what it is.
Okay, Southern Poverty Law Center has Steven Anderson's church, Faithful Word Baptist Church, listed as a hate group.
And as it should be. If you watch any of his content, it is the most hateful content I've ever seen.
Oh yeah.
It's horrible.
Well,
You know,
he's to the point that I believe he's a threat to society, and something should be done.
okay, well, like I watched a sermon he put on once, and there was a homeless person sleeping on the church grounds. And you would think a Christian would be like, you know, how can I help you? You know, come in, get a warm cup of coffee, you know, whatever, you know, something somewhere along them lines to be kind. I mean, I would do that. I mean, like, I know that I wouldn't give cash to a homeless person because I don't want them to go out and use drugs or drink with it. But if I had the funds available, I would have no problem in taking them, nor would I have any shame in it, and taking them out for something to eat. I mean, if I wouldn't have a problem with that at all, not one bit. And you would think Christian would be, you know, but Christians are the way more hateful. I see more love and humanity in our little clique than I do in 9 out of 10 Christians. Probably more like 9.8% of Christians.
Yeah, there's some Christian denominations that they'll follow the loving teachings of Jesus,
Yes.
and they help out homeless people and
Yes.
stuff. But yeah, I find that they're what would you call it? Their ego, it makes them think they're better than
Yep.
the homeless.
That's part of my girlfriend's a devout Pentecostal and her father's a pastor.
Yep.
That's part of the reason I respect him is because he lives the way the New Testament. You know, he's a wonderful, wonderful man. Them are big shoes to fill. I mean, he doesn't try to convert me. If anybody needs help, and let me tell you, they are not well off. I mean, they are barely scraping by. But if anybody needs help, he will, I mean, gladly go get them something to eat, or gladly, you know, give them clothes if their kids need them, or, you know, a ride wherever they need to go. But he won't, like me, he won't give them cash to go out and blow foolishly.
Yeah.
But I have a question. It's on regarding homeless people. I've heard it more than likely is one of those things that is considered an SJW thing in America. I don't know because we don't really go along with a lot of these trends yet. But
lucky you.
I've heard that the term homeless is offensive to those who are actually homeless.
What the fuck are you supposed to call them then?
Hang on. Because they shouldn't be considered without a home. If they don't have a house, they feel like the city is their home still. A lot of people will feel that. And so,
in my opinion, I'm just saying
houseless.
That's my opinion. If you don't have a place that is your actual where you reside, I mean, yes, my city is my home as well, but I mean, a home is you have a place to go and live.
Okay.
Agreed. I think this spurred from the idea that your home is where your heart is, and that concept. I'm not advocating it. I've just heard it.
Yeah, I know.
Honestly, I heard it from America, so I was like, "What the fuck's this shit about?"
House challenge, just I said.
Pretty much, like, that's what I thought too.
House challenge, yeah, that's a good one. How about in between homes
In
or
between
houses? Yeah. Living off the grid, whatever you want to call it.
But I don't want this to take away from the actual seriousness of the conversation, obviously, because
but I mean, like, how many of you guys have actually seen, like, when you were in the church, how many people did you actually see doing Christian good deeds? I mean, if they weren't getting something out of it, they always were at least trying to proselytize if they did a good deed. Probably were they not?
well, in my church where I come from, it was a very small town, and that's pretty much all you could do. But we, even me personally, we did. The charity comes from the amount that you sort of afford to go and do that preaching work. So, like for us, because we would travel hours and hours through the desert just to go to a random little fucking village, town, whatever you want to call it, and you know, go door knocking, and that was all on us, like personally, kind of stuff. And that was the sort of sacrifices that you're talking about, like the charity that you're talking about. But in the same regard, we were led to believe that there are missionaries and what have you going around to those impoverished nations doing the good work, you know, handing out food and doing all that sort of shit. You know, it's all bullshit. But that's the way they swing you.
Right.
Going back to the homeless thing, I just pulled up an article from Quora, and they're discussing it. And their last paragraph is, it says, "Rest assured, homeless people aren't worried about what word you use. They're more concerned about the reality they're in."
Right. Right. Exactly. As they should be, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, while we're sitting here bitching about piddly ass first world problems, look at how many homeless veterans are on our streets. Nobody that fought for our country should have to live on the fucking street. Nobody. Now, as a matter of fact, we have enough empty houses in America that nobody should have to live on the street. You know what I mean?
And it's not even just that. There is so many affordable housing like possibilities that are well within not current regulation, but within safety standards. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
like, they would have to adjust regulation to make it work, but that's because it's like council regulation and what have you. But the safety standards are up to par. There are so many easy, affordable ways, but that's not where the money is.
Yeah, and homeless are treated like criminals. You know, the homeless are treated like criminals, and there's not really a lot they can do. I mean, they obviously can't afford an attorney to fight back, so they get tickets. Police are just horrible. I mean, especially like in California. I've heard that.
I can't remember. It was an Olympics or something. I don't recall exactly. That happened in LA. And they were all, because they're there in LA, they have a big problem with the homeless in tents in certain areas. And was it LA? Yeah, like it wasn't the Olympics though. It was some other little event, and they had to move them all. And it was a big media event for LA. And I just recall that event because I'm like, they literally just pushed them all out of the city basically, just so they could hold this media event or whatever it was. It might have even been some political for all I know. I can't recall. And half the time they were beating the people. Like, this is like documented. They were like, just didn't give a shit about the shit they owned, the stuff they were like their whole lives basically that they had
walked
left.
all over their civil rights and their constitutional rights.
I couldn't, you know.
I mean, okay, if you're a citizen of America, if you're an American citizen and you're not doing anything illegal, a cop has no right to tell you to leave a public place.
Yeah, unless you're black.
Or they do it to whites, blacks, Mexicans. It doesn't matter.
I'm sorry.
You know?
Probably a bad joke if I was.
No. I mean, but you're right. They do. I mean, like, I've seen it firsthand. Like, I used to work in a hospital, and the police would all take a shift on their night off to, you know, sit in the ER, make sure everything was cool, and they would come in, you know, and talk to each other. I worked third shift, in just the casual way they talked about racism was fucking, it was sickening. I mean, like I heard one cop talk to another like, did you see the way Bill was beating the hell out of that nigger? And like we had to tell him, stop, man, stop. You know, you're going too far. Which is good that they stopped him. But I mean, the casual way they you know, and they like laughed about it like it was funny. There's nothing funny about that. Nothing funny at all. Even if he was committing a crime, he still has no right to be treated inhumanely. You know what I mean?
And, well, this is the thing. Like, we have this similar thing. It's not as overt, but it's there. Like, we'll have them where. So you're like, I'll go into a shop, and doesn't matter what shop I go into, nobody bats an eyelid at all. Like customer service all the way, you know. And if they don't give me their best service, I'll fucking have them fired. Whereas I have this. I mean, okay, let's say that this is a bra shop. I'm walking around in a bra shop, and then same situation, but I have a darker skinned female friend of mine with me. Because we're looking for bras for her, and all of a sudden I notice that there are two customer service people following, not asking her questions. They've come and asked me. You know, one of them had asked me, and then now the other, he's just walking, he's standing behind the counter watching, kind of thing. You know, like I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Right. Like, you think we can't see that shit?
Now, isn't there an immigrant gang problem in Australia at the moment? Is it like Nigerians or something like that?
We get all sorts of people who rock up on our shores, and we get that constantly. The problem we mostly have is the way we deal with it. Right. And a lot of that is stemmed from the fact that we still use, we're still convinced that penetration.
What's on your mind, buddy?
Penetration. Being fucking imprisoned is the way to go for people who are seeking asylum. And we also have an issue with taking over our islands that are nearby that aren't ours, and making them prisons for America, and going, hey, we'll let you put your fucking criminals, worst criminals that you can't put into Guantanamo anymore. We'll put them here if you do some deals for us and keep us out of the fucking tariffs and all that sort of jargon. Right. And so we are worse than you guys when it comes to immigrants and offshore illegal prisons.
Right. And I don't know if any other countries besides America has the prison system is very capitalist driven. Like they're trying to fill the prisons.
We going that way.
Are you
really going that? Yeah.
Prison, I guess. Prison for pay. I don't know how you'd word it exactly.
Yep.
Here, the conservatives do want to privatize prisons. The liberals are wanting government run. But either way, they really got to rethink the whole system.
Right.
Because it's not working.
And no, it isn't. And if we're supposed to be the most powerful nation on earth, why do we have the most incarcerated people in the world? I mean, do you think that Americans commit an overtly larger amount of crimes, or do you think the police are looking for reasons to put people in prison?
Well, police do have quotas.
I'm just asking you guys as outsiders, not Americans. I mean, what do you think?
You can go first, Don.
Well, police have quotas. The incentive to put people in prison is a lot higher than I think it should be. Education and reform, in my opinion, is the way it should be, except for the ones not willing to do it.
Right. I think that the court systems are nothing but a cash cow. Like the county I live in Illinois, has the highest conviction rate of any county in Illinois, and the reason behind that is that if you get arrested, they'll come out and offer you some crazy fucking offer, like 7 years in prison. It could be your first offense, and then of course you're scared. You go back to the cell block, and then they'll have an attorney about a month later come back and say, "Oh, well, you know, we'll give you 60 days with time served if you plead out." Instead of taking it to a jury trial and taking a chance of winning, they want that guaranteed conviction because they know they're going to get paid because of that. They're going to have court costs and fines, probation. I don't know if the other countries are like that, but America is very heavily like that. Very, very heavily like that.
Canada's not much different in that regard. They offer the incentives or the plea bargains.
Right. And I don't, and I flipped my shit, dude, when I found out that my shitty ass public pretender got paid $500 out of my bond money, and the motherfucker did nothing except for get 3 continuances, and I still served the same sentence I was offered in the first place. He did absolutely nothing, dude. And I had to, I mean, I almost got a contempt charge on top of my going to jail anyway. And when I went to jail, I went knowing full well I was going to have to serve time. So I brought my whites with me, and my dad put money on my books, so I could have commissary while I was in there. And the judge said, "Well, are you ready to go to jail?" And my attorney's like, "Well, I don't think, he knew he was going to go to jail today." And I said, "Bullshit." I said, "I'm ready to go, man." And I turned around and I said, "Cuff me up, dude. Let's go. Let's get this over with." I'm just, let's get this done. Being in jail sucks, and it's very scary if you don't know when you're getting out. But if you get sentenced and you know when you're getting out, it's more boring than scary, to be honest with you. Jail is very, 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 very boring.
And what was your thoughts on it, Nacho?
No, I've come into it. I've lingered along the conversation and then gone into other thoughts. So, what was the original question?
About thoughts of private prisons in the U.S.
Yeah, do you think that Americans commit a larger amount of crimes, or do you think that police are just looking for reasons to put people in prison?
Yes, and that's right. I remember saying both. And look, it is a very complicated issue, and they are two different issues. I study criminology and criminal justice here in Australia, and my focus is in the prison systems and reforming our prison systems. My major interest, if you will, is the American political system and the issues that you guys are facing.
Right.
The thing I see with your policing first your policing system, and then I'll get onto your prison system. Okay. Yeah, well, the other way around. Your prison system's easy. It's very similar. It's privatization. The fact that you're like ours, your prisoners are an economic value as opposed to any form of reformation value, which is where the actual where the profit turns to being in the society and back to the government as opposed to into the hands of a private organization. Because to keep you within prison holds the money flowing to the prison system, which in these cases is becoming the private prison system, as opposed to circulating within the government and then back into the economy within society. And a lot of reform does cost money, but it also brings the former criminal back into society. It gives them a chance at, getting a job, paying their taxes, and doing, getting a house, paying the rates. These things are very important, and that is what is just completely missing from America. At the same time, you have the policing system is a really hard one, because you obviously have people almost in the entirety who are out to do the right thing. They are doing a job which is harder than most within our societies, and their intent is good usually, but there are not only people who are just, as they call them, bad apples, but there are also people who are very complicit in these things, and they have no fucking backbone. There's no spine. They wear a badge and hold a gun, but they've got no guts or balls.
Right.
And so when shit goes down that shouldn't happen, they don't stand. What they do is they stand up for the fucking brothers in blue instead of what is just and what is justice. And that is a huge issue, not only in America. I don't want anyone to think wrong.
No, I believe you're right. I think that a lot of I think there are probably a lot of good police officers, but they almost, I mean, if they see something that's out of line, I mean, they have to be very careful. I mean, if they throw themselves on their sword.
No, they do. And it's an absolute sacrifice.
Yeah. I mean, they're never going to find another job in that business. They're going to be ostracized. And you know what? They're going to be fucked with.
They cover it up, or if they get fired because they kill some innocent fucker and they get convicted for it even, they might even, they'll have to get fired from there, but they'll move on to the next place and they'll get a job. But if they do the right thing, they'll never get a job, like you're saying.
Right. I mean, so they almost have to pick their battles, I mean, if they see something that's fucking way out of line, I think a lot of cops will admit, I mean, that's too much. I have to say something.
This is a silly comparison but in this regard, I look at it like the JWs, where I go, look, they aren't, or any cult not any cult maybe, but like this, but they're like witnesses themselves, those door-to-door knockers. They don't know all the awful shit that goes on. They're innocent people trying to do the best they can.
Right. Right. Because they're not in the know.
Thing.
I take it that
when they see something going wrong, if they see someone doing something wrong, they can't go and speak up about it.
Because they'll be ostracized, won't they?
Exactly. And it's such a loss to their lives. They have to hold it in. And that does happen to the good officers that have to withstand it. And that's the issue our culture in general faces with so many issues.
Yeah.
I was going to say I brought it down. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Awesome information.
I got some stuff I got to get done. So I think we're going to wrap up, but I want everyone to know, if you're not subscribed to Nacha or Don, please do so. And I wouldn't mind either, to be honest with you, if you sub to me. I'm so close to 200, I can taste it. And I got a great lineup all this next week. Tonight I got Godless Engineer at 5 p.m. Central Time on my channel. I've never ever had a bad conversation with the guy, so if you can make it, please do. So I want you all to know I love you, whether you like it or not. Our community is it's amazing. And if I didn't have the internet community and I had to deal with the dumb bumpkins that live around my area, I would have gone crazy a long time ago. And I just want you all to know that I thank you for giving me the intellectual stimulation I need. You know, I just want you to know I appreciate you, all of you.
Yeah. And
So,
thank you, everybody in the chat. You guys are awesome.
Night Spooky, Night Hans, Max, Steven, all of you. You're awesome.
Yeah.
Be.
Love you all and be freaky.
Yep.
Exactly.
Don't do anything I would do. You might get arrested, molested, or thrown somewhere you don't want to be. Everybody have a good day. Yeah, unless that's what you're into. I'm not going to judge. All right. I hope to see you all later this afternoon.